Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Global Book Network, the show where we sit down with authors and ask them about their craft and their process as writers. You know, being an author is such a fun time. Being able to sit with them has really been a joy. My name is Global Boys, and I'll be the host today, and I'm being joined by the author of The Black Man in America, The Plight of Black American Men and Boys in the U.S., Dr. Iheanyi Okoroafor. How's it going, sir?
It's okay, good.
Fantastic. It's kind of interesting because the day we record this is actually Martin Luther King Jr. Day here in the United States. And it's actually the individual that graces the cover of your book. Talking about the plight of Black Americans, what was the moment for you when you decided to put your ideas to paper and write a book about it?
Yes, as a result of my experiences at school and at work, I happened to see a problem that needs to be tackled. And I read some books about the experiences of the people who lived in the United States in the late 1900s and 2000, early 2000. And even up till now, what's going on in the society regarding the experiences of Black people, whether at school or at work, or in their homes in some cases, is something that disturbed my peace, that I saw as a problem that needs to be tackled.
Yeah. And in your estimation, because you know everyone has a different answer to this question, what are some of the challenges you saw specifically from your eyes when it comes to the plight of Black Americans trying to survive in this country today?
Yes, uh, one of the uh, one of the impact of what's happening here on me is the experiences of young people, children, I will call, and being slaughtered like ants. People who are hunted by the uh, tragedy of what's happening around them is something that really impacted the way I see the experiences of Black people in this country. When I saw up to the point that saying there is injustice everywhere because of the experiences of parents who lose their children to gun violence, because of some children who witness their parents being killed without any reason, and because of the fact that the stories that the Black people always hear, whether at school or in the marketplace, is something that it should not happen. Because if we are a Christian country, as we assume, that such things should be everybody's problem. But unfortunately, there are many people who thrive in seeing Black people suffer, and that's very disturbing to me.
Yeah. Now, you've been in this country for decades and you've seen these injustices as it is. Can you describe to me if there is a progression? Have things gotten worse? Has it been just as bad as it is? You become more aware? What has really been your perspective about the challenges, especially our youth face in this country today?
Yes, when you think that there's something is coming normal, the present experience that I have now is just taking us backwards. And it's disturbing to know that instead of people being conscious of the suffering of other people, there are people um, who have pleasure in seeing Black people suffer, and that's not should not be the case in a country that prides itself with their Christian values. It is something that uh, people will re-examine the way they see life. And but when I see or read some of the experts who saw and found out that this should not be the case, that we should be protectors of the people who are vulnerable, like some writers who have white writers who have experienced this thing, and they thought that this should not be the case. They see their whiteness as something that's a privilege to them, and the people and they see that it's not right for them to watch the other people suffering and will not do something about it. And some people have written articles that really said that when you live your life in isolation to the people who are suffering, you think that these people don't deserve anything good. But when you associate yourself with these people and compare what they are facing with what you are enjoying, then there's something. If you have conscience, there's something that you prick your conscience and said, this is not right. We need to reverse
Mhm.
this attitude of having no interest in solving a problem that needs to be solved.
You're not the first person to tell me that, and over the couple of years, it felt like there was kind of a regression about racial harmony and acceptance. And I know it's kind of a broad question to ask you, but in your estimation, what changed? Was it the rise of social media? Was it just we empowering the wrong people? Why did you think, in your estimation, to cause a shift for us to go backwards? In your estimation?
Yes, that's a very good question. It really, the social media has helped a lot in bringing out all this injustice that really we are somehow many people were not privy to witnessing, but now social media is bringing it out openly that people who didn't have the opportunity of knowing what's really going on are now witnessing in real time what is really going on in our society, like what ICE is doing now. Maybe it wouldn't have been some concern to many people because they lack knowledge of what is happening. But with the understand with the witnessing of these things, where people are now really asking themselves questions: Are we progressing or are we going backwards? And people can't hold their silence any longer because they are now seeing it in real time that people are really chased like criminals. People
Mhm.
who are going about their business and now being disturbed up to the point that people are being hunted in a way that leads to their death. And that's not something that a civilized a civilized community should really embrace or tolerate.
Yeah. I want to actually raise that question because in chapter 10, you go into detail about the rise or the proliferation of police brutality. And it's something that has afflicted generations of Black Americans in this country. And there's different flavors of that as well. But I would say now more than ever, there are some people who say that, we are blowing things out of proportion about how much police really do abuse their powers. I don't personally agree with that assessment, but what's been your perspective about the rise of police brutality in the country?
I would agree with the fact that the social media has helped us to understand it, and it's increasing in my own estimate. It's increasing because right now many people are seeing what is going on in the country, and and they are questioning themselves, what what's going on? What benefit are we deriving from the increase of this? I will call a wave in the way that people are really being treated and confronted, even where it's not necessary. And the government and the American dollars are being spent on something that is not really yielding anything, rather is destroying the infrastructure and everything about the way people see themselves as Americans. Many people don't are not even proud of what is happening in their country.
Hmm.
This is something that is not giving anybody outside the United States the impression that the country is still what it used to be. What the way people see America is no longer the way they are seeing America this time. This time,
Is there a path back, or is that ship already sailed?
I think so. It's backwards. We are going backwards. And when people say we want to take our country back, and the question is, take it back to where? Is it for good or for evil? Because if we are taking us back to the time when the Ku Klux Klan was really at their peak, then we are not progressing. We are really going backwards. And any society that is really going backwards it's not giving the country the image that it wants to have outside the United States.
Yeah. What do you say to those that take a look from the outside looking in about the plight of what we go through and say, "Hey, look, man, it's blown out of proportion. It's not as bad as everyone says it is. Black people are their issues are self-inflicted. Why blame the country for their shortcomings?" Any thoughts about that kind of line of questioning?
Um, I would say that I don't agree with anybody who thinks that it's being blown out of proportion because of the fact that what you see happen or what you experience yourself will just give you the impression. If we are claiming that we are really a country that is free, and we see that there are members of our community, of our society, that are really hurting. They are always they will always find themselves as not belonging because of the way they are treated. Then I would say that we are not. The only thing is that people are now being bold to express their outrage about what's going on. It's not being blown out of proportion, but people are really becoming conscious of the fact that it's not right for people to be degraded or given the experience of having their parents being taken away from them because of what the government deems wise for them to do to gratify their own way of life instead of considering the rest of us, because the Lord Himself makes it clear that He makes things available for all of us.
Mhm.
And if there are people in our midst who are deprived of the fundamental rights, then it should be a cause for us to say, yes, we have every right to air or express our opinion about what is happening. And we need to do something about it to see that the wrongs are being righted.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you say that because that leads me to my next question. If someone understands where you're coming from and they feel that too, I mean, is what can we do to protect ourselves? What can we do to empower the next generation to overcome some of these challenges, if that's even possible in this country?
Yes, I think we need some education. Give our children the education they need to understand. And I can see that in my reading, I found out that people like Ella Becker, she did a very wonderful work to let young people, especially young students in the college, to understand that they should have the audacity to claim their rights. They should have the audacity to dream and not allow anybody to take away their rights and the opportunities that they should be allowed to have in order to grow. And so the audacity to dream is something that needs to be pushed so far that our children growing up, even from their infancy, they will understand that they have every right. Their maker made it possible for everyone to develop according to their own level in order to really come to a point where they will fulfill their God-given rights.
Yeah. You mentioned education, and that's a very good point about the idea of it, right? I know there was battlegrounds in different states and communities about what makes the curriculum when it comes to the history of the portrayal, or just even us as our time in the United States. Do you have any thoughts about how that seems to be a bit of a battleground of what gets to be put into curriculums, history classes, and sociology classes, and anthropology courses about our story here in this country?
I just love that question. Yes, I even suggested it in my book that there should be it should have, the country should have a curriculum that reflects the the way people develop, and the contributions of people, whether black or white or brown, that the people who have contributed to this country, it should be in the curriculum for people to learn, people who have given this country um, some gifts in the way of development, like the Black Panthers. They should, people should know about them. Young people should know about how they really, out of nowhere, without the resources, but they were able to give people who have the resources to to help them develop a program that helped infants, young people who didn't have enough food to eat, people who couldn't do well at school, but they were given the opportunity for for their nutrition and other things. And with that kind of foundation, those children who would have languished without becoming something, they were able to pick up and then compete with their white counterparts. If the curriculum is designed in a way that will reflect some of these people who made these contributions, it will be a challenge to our young people, and they will grow up with the understanding that they have a right to contribute to this country. For example, in my book, I also indicated what happened to even the young students when the struggle was going on, civil rights. Some children were marched from, I mean, they marched, even though their parents were against that, because they saw something that challenged them, because they saw some people who led the way, and they would like to be associated with such things. So the curriculum should really feature some of these people who made the contribution that have put us in this at this level that United States found itself now.
Is there anyone in particular that you would have a chance to add that you would add to the curriculum if given the opportunity?
Oh yes, okay, Frederick. I mean, Frederick Douglass is a good example, who defied all odds and really rose to a point where he became ambassador to Haiti. So, and really developed in a way that he wrote books and did things, even though he was not privileged to do those things, but age did not stop him. When he grew up and had the opportunity to do, he really helped himself by learning in such a way that really made some white people doubt that he couldn't write some of the books he wrote because he didn't have formal education like others. So those are the another person that also impressed me, as I said earlier on, is Ella Becker. He didn't care about most of the things. The story that her parents told her about, or even the grandmother told her about what happened to them, made her to decide to devote her life to make sure that young people, the young Black people, will understand that they have a responsibility to develop themselves in a way that will make them not to be afraid or see anybody as being more than they themselves. And that also needs to be impressed in our children, that they don't have to allow anybody to intimidate them, to shy away from taking up any challenge that comes across their lives.
We're talking about the Black man in America, the plight of Black American men and boys in the U.S., which is available now. And I'm going to say, Doctor, thanks so much for taking your time with us to discuss your book and the methodology behind that book. That was very enlightening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being on the show. This is Global Book Network.